Trying to look tough never works. I give up. Maybe I'll get tattoos on my face and I'll become tough. Anyway, how's it going, guys? I just want to say hi. I've chatted with some of you last week. I really want to appreciate the awesome feedback you guys have been giving me, and it was nice chatting with some of you. And it's been great making these videos. Definitely is, good for the mind and good for staying busy during business downtimes. I hate the off season. Anyway, wanted to show you guys that lighting that I have back there. Just sitting on it for a few weeks, but I finally put it up. I think that was the added final touch with the studio. Until next time I do something else and I tell you guys it's the finish added touch of the studio. And I wanted to talk to you today about import versus domestic. Which one is more American? Something that I have heard many times. Something that I've had numerous conversations with people about, and something that both sides, I believe, make excellent points about. So, a lot of the topics, and I think this is going to apply to trucks. This is actually going to solely apply to trucks because this is where I hear it the most. A lot of times when a lot of truck owners, for instance, myself, I've currently own a Ford, previously I owned Chevy and Dodge for trucks. A lot of us domestic truck owners have a tendency to bash Japanese trucks, be it Toyota, Honda, or Nissan, or whatever, because they're not American. And a lot of my friends that own import trucks, their argument is that they're more American because their more parts come from the United States, or they're assembled in the United States, so forth and so forth. And I wanted to do a video about that because I figured we should chat, because what else is there to do during these awesome times? And here's the thing. I acknowledge that a lot of, and you guys know me, man, I'm all about all cars. All Cars United is for a reason. Imports, domestic, doesn't matter. But when it comes to trucks, it's weird. I kind of have a different vibe, and, it's not that I bash them, because I don't, but I acknowledge their quality. I acknowledge their craftsmanship. I acknowledge where a lot of them are assembled, and so forth and so forth. And do I acknowledge that a lot of American trucks, who knows, maybe all of them, are not made necessarily here in the United States or assembled here, whatever, okay? This kind of goes back to the video that I did before about electric cars and Tesla, so forth and so forth. Just sum everything up, make it quick for you guys. My feeling is that I like electric cars. They're fast, oftentimes faster than gas cars, but they don't have the soul that an American car or a V8 or a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder, not American, but any gas vehicle. And that was my final verdict, is that electrics are cool, but I prefer gas because of that soul. All right. I think something similar is kind of going on with my views as far as, trucks are concerned. Again, I acknowledge the craftsmanship, quality. I acknowledge the assembly lines, where they come from, whatever. But it's something about Ford, Chevy, and Dodge trucks that to me appeal because the name in itself and the reason they came to be. Here's my argument. Ford, Chevy, and Dodge were made in a country with open roads, and back in a day where people would work and they would use those trucks as labor tools. Okay, they've evolved and they're still here, and they're massive because of that. American big roads, open roads, and even if not they're open roads, they're still big roads. Now, I've lived in Europe a pretty decent big chunk of my life, and I'll tell you, the roads in Europe are tiny. Absolutely tiny. Same thing with Asia, okay? The reason for that is because we're talking about ancient countries and ancient roads from a time where a horse carriage might be used going down a road. So oftentimes it was a road that was thin enough for one small vehicle. You will see that in Europe, unless, then you're going into the highways, which then the story changes, but not a lot of people even use them because you have to pay a toll a lot of times to get into these highways, and they're not cheap, okay? So this is how other countries are historically set up. This is how they base their vehicles. In Europe, you'll see a lot of small cars like Fiat, Seat, Renault, Peugeot, all these tiny little cars that are oftentimes less than 1 liter in the roads that are literally smaller than a Smart or the size of a Smart. I mean, dude, I've been there, I've driven them, and it's almost like, it's like surreal. I mean, I remember I went there when I needed an SUV, like for family, right? And this was in Portugal, and I ended up with I think it was a Smart van, something really like I laughed at the person. I felt so bad afterwards. I started cracking up, and the guy was serious. So that is what the mentality, and that is what is traditionally. That is what I appreciate about the imported vehicles. That's why I like the import scene a lot, because their vehicles fit their needs because of historical reasons, or because of highly expensive gas prices. They have to become more efficient and get more efficient, smaller engines that really have pretty nice power output because of that. And that's where my issue lies with the Japanese trucks. These Japanese trucks are massive. They were in no way ever designed to be in their countries. These are vehicles, in my opinion, that are specifically made for an American market, okay? If you look at a lot of them, they resemble American trucks, okay? And to me, that's not appealing. It's like making a knockoff part, you know what I'm saying? It's when you buy a watch, that's supposed to be this expensive brand in the streets of New York, but it's this cheap little thing. Subconsciously, that's the effect it has on me, because that's kind of how it started. If you go back in history, a lot of the Japanese vehicles here in America were like, you know what I mean? And that's what I don't like about them. It's subconsciously, and I hate that. I really feel horrible, because again, I am a car enthusiast, but in the corner of my mind, I always think that. And I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that. I mean, I a lot of you must have imported trucks. I'm sure a bunch of you also have domestic. But I wanted to know what your views are when it comes to this. What is more American? Is a Ford, a Chevy, and a Dodge built in Mexico more American than a Honda or a Toyota built in America? Or do you feel like it's just not enough? Is it brand loyalty that drives us to be like this? Is it a cultural thing? I think it is a cultural thing for me. I just think that big trucks are an American thing, or maybe Australia too, because they're badass in there and they got big roads and stuff like that. What are your thoughts? Which ones of you, who here owns an imported truck, and who here actually owns an American truck within the recent past and has bought a Japanese truck or a South Korean truck or whatever? And what are your views? I know the quality is supposed to be superior, but that's what I hear from import truck drivers. So how biased that is, I really don't know. Let me know in the comments. So this is another video. I just wanted to chat with you guys about it, and hope you guys are enjoying that little blurry sign in the back. It's blurry because, well, I'm using a lens that blurs the background, like I always tell you guys about. But I think for the most part, the studio might be done. I like to get some toys in there. There's a lot of empty space right there in the back. I have some model cars that I would like to put in there. I got a bunch of posters up here too that I like. Maybe not the posters, but other than that, I think the studio's all set up. Now my lazy ass just needs to go outside and do a video of my truck. Later, guys.